Ever since this moment right here, the 2026 Knicks has had the most dominant playoff run in NBA history. Relative to standards, of course. Coming into the 2026 season, no one knew exactly what we were going to get from the Knicks. People had them as a contender, but not as a truly serious contender. I think people would have put OKC, Denver, and maybe even Cleveland over the Knicks. They also had their moments in the regular season as well that made them seem not to be the best choice to win it all. 30 plus games into the season, they were showing everybody why people still considered them to be the same old Knicks as of old. They had a strong slump. Between late December and mid-January, they had a rough 2-9 stretch that kind of exposed internal roster issues and on-court weaknesses before they eventually turned things around. They started at 23-9 and then went all the way down to 25-18. However, that losing stretch kind of did show me that these Knicks can respond well to adversity. After that 2-9 stretch, these guys went on an 8-game win streak. And then, like a few weeks after that, these guys went on a 7-game win streak. So it seems that even though they've had slumps in the regular season, they still shown to be able to respond to adversity just like they did in these playoffs. Well, not just like they did in these playoffs, but, way better. After going down 2-1 to the Atlanta Hawks, these guys had a crazy, dominant playoff run. Probably the greatest that we've ever seen. And the fact that these guys won 13 straight postseason games isn't just the only reason why this is probably one of the most dominant postseason runs of all time. Only second to the 2017 Golden State Warriors, I might add. The 2017 Golden State Warriors, who had Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, the guys that were considered cheat codes. They're only second to those guys in terms of winning streaks in the playoffs. The 2017 Warriors won 15 consecutive straight games in the NBA playoffs. But let me tell you, they did not do it how these 2026 New York Knicks did it. The Knicks dominated games, and that was the difference. Blew team after team out, and it never mattered who it was. Coming into these playoffs, everybody talked about how weak the East was, about how we need to abolish conferences, all of that nonsense. And now, I'm not going to go on this rant and talk about how great the East is because, they're not the best talent-wise, but hey, they're still damn good. I'm not saying they're better than the West, but they're still fucking good. Obviously, as we just seen the East win yet another championship. The 2026 Knicks had the highest point differential by a team in a single NBA playoff run ever. And that's higher than the second team on the list, which was the 2017 Golden State Warriors. Higher than who's third on the list, which is the 2014 Spurs. Higher than who's fourth on the list, which is the 2018 Warriors. And higher who's fifth on the list, and that is the 1987 Lakers. All historic teams, by the way. And I just want to tackle the narrative that the New York Knicks haven't played anybody in the East and that the East was just so weak this year. First of all, whether that's true or not doesn't matter at all. Nobody talks about that in the long run when you look back at all these teams. Nobody talks about how weak the West was back in 2017. People just remember the dominant, big and bad Golden State Warriors. And yeah, they were big and bad. Yes, they were. But nobody talks about that competition. In the first round, they played the 41-41 Portland Trail Blazers. You guys remember Those Portland Trail Blazers teams that just had Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum and everybody else, it was just a bunch of random role players. Anyway, so they smoked them. They got them off the board quick, 4-0 sweep. We knew this was going to happen. So who did they go against in the second round, you may ask? It has to be some comp team, right? I guess. They went against the 2017 Utah Jazz, whose top 3 scorers was a young Gordon Hayward, who was a great player at the time. But their second and third scorers was a young George Hill, and a young Rudy Gobert. And those guys are good players, but you don't want these guys as your number 2 and number 3 scoring options. It's just not ideal at all. Not in the slightest, honestly. But they did get some competition eventually, or so we thought. In the conference finals of the 2017 Western Conference Finals, they go against the 61 and 21 2017 Spurs. Right after Tim Duncan retires and they officially give the keys to a young Kawhi Leonard. Now, we thought this was going to be an all-time series because in the first 3 quarters, Kawhi was giving it to him. Pause. Kawhi was going crazy. The Spurs had the lead up until Zaza Pachulia pulled off one of the dirtiest plays in NBA history. Kawhi gets hurt. They lose all momentum. And the Warriors goes to mop these guys up. Sweep 4-0. They make it to the finals without a single loss on their record, 12-0. But who do they go into the finals against, may you ask? They go up against a 2017 LeBron Kyrie led Cavs, who they just got sent home packing by just the last year. Now these guys was competition, I'm not gonna lie. They went 12-1 on their way to the finals, but Warriors made quick work of them. But it's kind of like the Knicks. The Knicks made quick work of everybody until they got to the finals. I mean, they made quick work of the Spurs too, but it was some comp. Warriors didn't have any comp into the finals. I guess you could say that about the Knicks, but I wouldn't agree. Why am I saying all this? Okay, back to the point. My point is basically that competition and all that good stuff, none of that matters when you have a dominant run like the Knicks just had. None of that matters when you win 13 straight. Anybody that says anything about this Knicks run is just a hater or doesn't know what they're talking about. I see a lot of people, even after they beat the Spurs, people are saying, oh yeah, this team was young, these team made mistakes. Of course they were, but they also was a very dominant team. They won 60 games this year. So I just can't stand when people take credit from this Knicks team, because they had probably one of the great, not even probably, in my opinion, the greatest postseason run of all time. And I would never forget this. The Knicks deserve this one, and I'm so happy that they got it. Shout out New York. Shout out all them guys. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2026 champions, the New York Knicks.
It's over. Knicks fans, this is not a dream. Your long, long wait has ended. Go ahead and cry. After 53 years, the Knicks are finally NBA champions once again.